Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. As I kind of talked about, I now have the GTX 980 Ti Extreme Gaming. That's not my card, sadly. It's one of a friend who bought the card from German eBay, and I get to play a bit with it, make videos about it while I have it. And yeah, so since the card came with a water cooler, I have now hooked it up to my water cooling loop, which has a 360 and a 240 millimeter radiator. It also cools the CPU. And yeah, this is the same loop that I usually use for my water cooling stuff, just with with this full cover block for this 980 Ti now instead of my universal block, which is this one. Ah, like, there we go. Yeah. So, card's running pretty cool in idle, which I kind of would expect. I don't think the fans are even at full speed, because I'm on the Z390 board now. My Z370 had problems again, and I had to take it out of service again. It started doing the PCI Express slot thing again, and I just, yeah, no, not gonna deal with that. So I'm on the Z390 now again, which sadly comes with some drawbacks. We no longer have a postcode. Yeah, here's the board. Um, and yeah, it does some things better for memory, does some things worse. And it sometimes tends to also be a bit weird and picky, but at least it runs at all the 16 lanes, as you can see. Anyway, yeah, so 980 Ti, Extreme Gaming from Gigabyte, Samsung card, as we've already said in the teardown video, and ASIC quality pretty good. That's a pretty good result. It's not as high as my Amp Omega, but if you remember the PCB, this thing has a much better VRM and a much better output filter. And also ASIC quality isn't everything, so yeah, this one is probably gonna do pretty well. As far for the BIOS, 390 watts max, not as much as the Omega. The Omega has 425 max. Though, like, for both of these cards, I think the Omega maxed out at like 340 watts. So, yeah. We should not be hitting that limit. So yeah, I think that's everything we can look. Let's just run, so I'm gonna be running Firestrike today, only graphics tests, and I just wanna see a baseline and also give us our clocks, our temperatures. It's nice to have the hotspot on Maxwell, by the way, and I wanna see our power draw, and our voltage, no, not this one, that one. Run, and let's take a baseline. How good the card is. Now the cooling is gonna be really, really good. Probably a bit better than with my universal block even, cause like first of all it also cools the memory directly and the VRM with water cooling, which is just gonna be better temps than just pointing a fan at it. Like it's just gonna have better memory and VRM temperatures than like any other cooling solution. And it's probably also gonna have a little better core temperatures, because like a full cover block, that's like, I think around a kilogram of just copper. Like, not all of it is directly contacting the die, but it's all one solid piece. So it has a lot more mass than my small universal block, which can't be that big, because then it wouldn't be a universal block anymore. So yeah, the core temperatures on this one's probably gonna be pretty good. Also, it is... So I've been testing a few things, because on my universal block, I mean, I can hold it in the camera. Whoop, I just need to... Yeah, so this is the kind of mount that I usually get, which, I mean, it isn't bad, but like, it could be better, right? You can clearly see that there's some areas where the pressure isn't all that right. And And generally I have quite a lot of thermal paste still. Did I just spill a bit of water out of the block onto my keyboard? I did. Well. Yeah. So... yeah, the mount is not that perfect. And now... actually that's also a bad example. But this is what the mount looks like on the EK block that came with my 980 Ti Omega, and you can see the mount's a lot better actually. It's not perfect because the base plate of this block is still contaminated with liquid metal, and I lapped it a bit, but not completely. Like, it is a lot flatter than it looks, but it's not completely flat. But like the mount is a lot better on the EK block, and we got our first baseline. That's not too bad. Yeah, 1442 on the core, that's that's literally where my Strix maxed out. Like the old 980 Ti Strix. I don't know if I ever made an overclocking video for that. It's one of the first cards I ever bought, and I don't have it anymore because I gave it to my sister. She dailies that card now. But 1440 is where that Strix maxed out. This is where this one comes stock. So that's cool, I guess. 36 degrees, okay, more like 37 max, and 50 hotspot max. And our voltage was 1.19. Okay. 260 watts, that's like... yeah, so it's not as fast as my Omega. My Omega is 1480 stock, but my Omega also gets like 340 watts already. Like, the power consumption barely changes from stock to max overclock, because the Omega is just... it runs higher vCore, it runs 1.237 instead of 1.193. And yeah, higher core clocks. It also comes at higher memory clocks. It comes, I think, at like 4100 memory, just stock. And this one is like 3600, because it's times 2. Okay. Yeah, we didn't hit the power limit. Yeah. But yeah, pretty good results. And yeah, like those temperatures, I don't think I got under 40 degrees on my universal block. Partially because of the mount, partially because this full cover just has a lot more mass and therefore like cools a lot better. Is the camera like super unfocused right now? It is. What the hell? I guess I should have been like, yeah. It focused on the block and then didn't refocus when I removed it. But yeah, so temperatures are probably a bit in the favor of this card. And I have a feeling it kind of depends on the mounting mechanism, because... so this universal block... yeah, it's like one thing I noticed is the best mounts from, like... yeah. Generally the best mounts I get from heatsinks, or just like coolers that screw in, like that have screws go through the card into the heatsink. The way that this universal block mounts is you put some screws onto the card, like with nuts, and then you put the block down on the card, and then you have some springs and some nuts over those springs that you screw down on the screws that you put it through the card. And apparently that one seems to be giving you not as great of a mount. So yeah, because like the EK block that I just showed gets pretty consistently good mounts, and my LN2 port, which I'm actually not gonna keep much longer. Like, I've decided to sell that one. I just need to do it because well, I have my face change, and if I ever go to like a bench meet, I could probably just borrow a GPU port or just like bring my face change. I have my driver's license now, so I can just drive there, get my face change. Yeah, so it's gonna finance like test bench upgrades or new hardware, because that LN2 port's like worth like what, around 200 euros. But yeah, so like that LN2 port, that EK block are like pretty consistent at getting good mounts, and both are like you only put like a screw into the block, or like in case of the LN2 port, it has like long screws on the pod, and then you put nuts down on them on the card. There's no springs involved in both of these. So I have a feeling that once springs are involved, even though they should technically make it better because they like even out the pressure, it seems that they never quite get as good of a mount. So, yeah. So I've actually been thinking of using that EK block, like lapping it a bit more. The problem is the EK block only fits NVIDIA cards. So for AMD, I'm still gonna have to use the Universal, which isn't that bad. Only AMD cards I really run on 7970s. They don't put much power. Anyway, let's get back to the 980 Ti. So, I've set core voltage, I've set power limit. And let's just set the memory to 4 gigahertz. That would be 400. And 1468 now. Wait, weren't we just at 1440? Oh, because oh, it scales with voltage, yeah. Like, it increases your core clock with voltage. Also, 1.237 volts, it's now the exact same voltage that the Omega runs on. Which is cool, I guess. We can directly compare them then. Yeah, 1468, now it's like just 20 megahertz off. Or not even, more like 12 megahertz off the Omega for stock. Still 260 watts, though. No, wait, that's for max. Yeah, we should clear that. Let's just start at plus 50, because, like, yeah, already over 50. Like, 1440 is where the Strix maxed. Just gonna say, and the Strix is also at, like, over 1.2 volts. So that one was always on air. So, yeah, this one's, like, basically only running half as hot. Because the Strix was at, like, 60, 65. Back then there wasn't a hotspot reading in GPU-Z. So the hotspot was at like, what, probably like 80. Like, Asus heatsinks kinda suck, honestly. Like, at least the older ones, like the ones that you get on like 28 nanometer cards, so like they're 700, 600, 900, and they're like HD 7000, R9 200 series cards. Like, usually those heatsinks kinda suck, because Asus back then just didn't do cooling on the memory chips. They would just be completely naked and only rely on airflow that gets through the fin stack, which is already hot air because it just went through the fin stack, to cool the memory, which leads to some very interesting looking memory chip burn-in. There's an RX 570 that I think, yeah, it is the exact model I used to have, or still have, but the card's dead. Like, the RX 570 Expedition also doesn't have memory cooling, and that one's apparently, like, because it's so cheap, popular with miners. And I saw a couple pictures from like some of these cards that ran for years mining crypto, and you can actually see where the silicon part in the memory is. Because like, not the entire memory chip is silicon, only the middle part is silicon in it. And you could really see where that is, because that area just like had a burn-in from all the heat that the memory chip did put out, or just like was operating at. I wouldn't be surprised if some of those Asus cards look the same. Yeah, and then just like some of these cards just had direct contact heat pipes, but like really big heat pipes with like really big air gaps in between the heat pipes, which is just awful for your contact. Like, if you have like a 2mm deep gap, that's just thermal paste. Yeah, you're just gonna have a hotspot there. And then even when they had flat cold plates, the contact was like pretty bad. It's like, yeah. That's also an upside for a full cover block like this. It doesn't only attach on like 4 screws on the core. You have like, use pretty much all the screw holes you have on the card, which of course is gonna make your mount a lot more consistent. Did we just wait? Oh no, we had 20. So we have now almost 22K. Pretty good. Yeah, so 15, I'm gonna call this 1520. Yeah, it turns out a little higher. Yeah, 290 watts now. That's still so much better than the Omega, though. Like, exact same V-core. And, like, higher than the Omega did stock. And the Omega, even at stock, did, like, way over 300 watts. And this one's just, like, 280, max 290. So either this one's VRM is just so much more efficient. It's, like, literally in a 2-digit watt thing, or my Omega just has a much more leaky core, which it shouldn't. It has a really high ASIC quality. As far as I know, high ASIC means like low leakage, is the VRM just that much more worse? Like, I mean, this is a pretty good VRM. It's a 12 phase with 50 amp mosses. It, like, it's not the best. Like, Kingpin Strix's a little better, but this is, like, almost as good. Yeah, this VRM is probably pretty efficient, but, like, it's not gonna make a difference of, like, 50 watts, right? Maybe, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's better VRM and less leaky core. Do we actually dare run 100? Like, that's gonna shoot past. No, actually it doesn't. No, it does shoot past. Yeah, so the Omega maxed at 1548. We would now be running faster than the Omega. Which would be kinda cool and kinda not cool at the same time, because, like, I was already really impressed with the Omega, like, still am. Like, again, the Strix maxed at 1440, and from what I heard, that's actually kinda more the norm for GM200s. They kinda like to max in the mid 1400s. So getting an over 1500 core, pretty unusual. If, like, we know this one already does 1520, that's already really good. If this passes, we have a car that's even better than the Omega, or more like on par, because, like, again, cooling's better, VRM's more efficient, better cooling on the memory and VRM too. Oh, no, I think it doesn't work. Okay, so the core's not that good. I don't think it's coming back, so let's reset that. I could also try... Yeah, actually, let's try that. So I can put the card in LN2 mode, so like the BIOS switch. Let's reset again. So Gigabyte calls it LN2 mode, it's actually just the BIOS switch. I mean, I guess the BIOS it loads has like a cold boot bug fix or something, but it's apparently boosts your clocks, which might be just the thing that it does. Oh, actually, the screen's not detecting an input now. Do I need to just completely reset it? Maybe it doesn't like swapping the BIOS. Or maybe someone messed with the second BIOS on this and like ruined it or something. But yeah. Maybe this one like does some secret sauce. Maybe it disables boost. Maybe it gives you a little bit more voltage. If I tried in LN2 mode. Like, it could be a little more than just a BIOS switch. It's not taking that long to post. We have a debug LED on. I can't see which debug LED that is. Oh, wait, what the hell is going on? The capture card's seeing some weird shit. I think someone messed with the BIOS then. Because that's not what it's supposed to look like. So let's reset. Maybe someone ruined the BIOS and flashed like something that's incompatible. Yeah, now it's looking normal again. Okay, so the LN2 mode can't be used. Either the BIOS is messed up, or maybe it needs you to plug in the extra 6 pin or something like that. Anyway, we're back now. So plus 100 doesn't work. We know 400 works on the memory, and then let's try 80? Save that. I want to see our... I want to see that. What clock would this translate to now? 1548. 1548, 1540. I'm not entirely sure. It might have been 1548 or 1540 flat by the Omega Max, but this would basically put the card on par with the Omega, if this passes. So let's see if it works. Also nice to hear that this one doesn't have, like, it has a little bit of coil whine, but it's nowhere near as bad as the Omega. The Omega had some pretty bad coil whine. This one's like, yeah, it's like it has coil whine, but it's, you can't hear it over the fan noise of the not even, like, maxed out fans. And especially the ambient noise of, like, living next to a busy street in a city, like, completely drowns out the coil whine. This would actually not be too bad of a daily card. Like, yeah, power consumption, but, like, water blocked, if you can pay the energy bill for this card, which this one doesn't even seem to be that bad. Like, it's worse than my 2080 Ti, it's slower than my 2080 Ti, but, like, it's a 28 nanometer card. This thing pulls, like, scores close to, like, a 1070 Ti, or, like, a 2060, I don't know, 2060, 2060 Super, something like that. Like, for 1080p, it's a very respectable performance still. Like, 980 Ti is so good, actually. And you can get them for so cheap now. Like, I mean, okay, you can get a 1070 for about the same price. I think 980 Ti's are cooler, but you could make an argument for the power consumption. But, like, this thing... So my friend paid 180 or 181 euros for this. Like, with the water block and everything. 22,311. Good score. Also, why didn't I think of this yet? Let's ruin our Firestrike watching experience by turning on LOD. Actually, is this even... No, it's not. Oh my god. High performance... Shader cache size? Wait, is that a new setting? That is a new setting. Does this affect performance? There's a maximum amount of disk space the driver may use for storing shader compiles. I don't know, I'm not gonna touch it for now. Okay, now where we have that set, let's restart Profile Inspector. And now replay mode, all, and LOD +3. Now Firestrike is gonna look awful, but we're gonna get a much better score. This just passed +80. Okay, so it is on par with the Omega. So basically my friend's getting a better version of my card, because it clocks... Well, I think my Omega does a bit more memory than this, but we haven't maxed memory yet. And we all... might do like +90. Let's try +90. But yeah, like, he gets a full water block, my Omega. Like, the Omega is currently on the stock heatsink. Like, on stock air, which is very passable. Like, it maxes at, like, 59 degrees on air. Admittedly, max fan speed, but I don't care about noise. But yeah, like, this has a much nicer PCB than the Omega. And... well, for like phase change overclocking, this one isn't that great actually, because I don't have an extra heatsink for the VRM. And I would actually, like, even if it's a 12 phase, I would still very much like to have some sort of cooling on the VRM when I have sub-zero cooling. So... oh, no, it didn't like +90. Like, instantly though, like... just gone. So basically the core is just as good as the Omega then. What did the Omega do? I think the Omega did 4100 on the RAM. So we can try +500. If that works, it's exactly on par with the Omega. Which I guess my friend is gonna be very, very, yeah, happy about. Like, this one draws less power. This one's gonna be easier to cool. It has a better VRM, so you can, like, on this one you can probably raise V-Core as much as you like without having to worry. On the Omega, well, I'm not so sure. So let's start plus 500. Yeah, because like the Omega's VRM is already like getting extremely hot at stock voltage, which is admittedly 1.237 volts. It's probably just the max that you can set. And also the Omega doesn't have boost disabled, I think, because it always sits at max voltage and max clocks. I think that it might have been, like, I don't know, it might have been an official BIOS, but I don't think it's the BIOS the card came with. It might have been like some overclocking BIOS that Zotac made, or someone made this BIOS themselves. But I think my Omega actually came with like an overclocking focused BIOS, because it doesn't like boost. Like, it doesn't move the clock around or anything, it just is super steady. This one does move the clock around a little bit, like when it's like an idle under less load, it like moves the clock down. The Omega doesn't do that, it just stays. Which is better for performance and overclocking, worse for efficiency. I'm not seeing any artifacts yet, so that's good. Though this is the core heavy test, the memory test is coming up. How long is the video now? It's probably around 27 just. I was expecting like 40. That's not too bad. Because we've already maxed the core. Now the memory is just, well, it's the exact same chip I have on the Omega. It's Samsung C-Die. 4 gigabit, I think? Yeah, it should be 4 gigabits, since twice the capacity is 700, and 700's on 2 gigabit. And they have the same amount of memory chips too. So this card is on 4 gigabit Samsung C-Die, or S4C, as I would call it in my list. Same chip as on the Omega, probably gonna do around the same clocks. $23,233. Oh yeah, because LOD. Go away. Yeah, so it's basically exactly on par with my Omega. Exact same core clock, exact same memory clock. Well, does it do more? How hot did it get? 39 still. 30, oh, I mean, okay, 39.8. So 40 degrees load. That's, well, actually, that's in line with my 2080 Ti. My 2080 Ti is like, at full tilt, it does consume a little more power than this. It's more in line with the Omega at like 340-ish. And it maxes at like 42 degrees on my daily system, which is also a 360 plus a 280 instead of a 240 on this one. Also cools the CPU, also full cover block like this one. So 2 degrees more for like 40 extra watts. Makes sense, about the same performance as my daily system then. So yeah, and this, yeah, makes sense. Hotspot 53. That's really good. Like, that actually seems pretty good. Like, I don't exactly remember what kind of hotspot temps you tend to see, but it sounds pretty good. Like, it's exactly 13 degrees. What was it? You should keep it within a 15-degree delta, so we're still within the normal delta. So I guess it's not super good. I guess pretty good would be like a 7 to 10 degree delta, but like, still 53 degrees in the hottest spot of the die. that's like really good cooling. Like that's 300 watts that the board's getting. And like, because it's a full cover block, all of those 300 watts do go into the water cooling loop. It's not just the core, like the memory and the VRM is getting cooled too. Like, what was our GPU? Like, our GPU was only 245, then our memory was another 55, and then whatever's still missing is like VRM efficiency. Actually, it comes out pretty much exactly. Does it count VRM? Yeah, it does count VRM efficiency. Or maybe VRM efficiency is not being subtracted. Yeah, it's probably not being subtracted here. Well, actually, how does it get it probably gets a current rating from measuring the current going through each phase, which it gets from measuring, like, effectively using the inductors as shunts, right? So that will be the output, not the input. So I don't know about VRM efficiency then, how much we're losing to VRM efficiency. Also, this is max, so this is not all at the same time. Let's do one last try. Look, 4200. Let's see if that works. I don't remember. Like the Strix I had was on Hynix memory. That one did a pretty high offset, but again, it's Hynix memory, so it's different. I think the Omega did like, did it do 4200? I think it did like plus 100, and it already came at either 4 or 4.1. So it might have done 4200. It might not have, if 4 is stock. I need to rerun the Omega. I just realized I could run these two SLI. Oh, am I gonna do that? Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna run SLI. Not in this video though, it's gonna be too long. But yeah, I'm totally gonna run this. Am I gonna max my PSU? There's a distinct possibility I might max the PSU, because it's gonna be 300 plus 340 makes 640. Then I have 110 watts left for everything else before the power supply is like maxed out. And like the CPU can draw like up to 180 watts. Now it's not gonna be on the full load at the same time. And the power supply can probably handle more than 750 continuously, because it's like well, actually it's not a Corsair, it's the Gigabyte one. But it's a single rail 750 watt, and it's the 1 gigabyte PSU that's not bad. So it can probably do 800, maybe 850 continuously. It might just die a bit sooner if I keep doing that. Oh yeah, and it does not, yeah, it does not like 4200. Okay, I forgot the score. It was 2300 something. Let's do one last one. One last one. But like, that's some really good performance, man. That's a really good performance. Like 300 watts, not even that bad. Yeah, like a 1070 Ti does the same at like 230 watts, but like, if you think about it, it's not that big of a difference. Like, yeah, it's gonna make it a little bit more power efficient, but if you already have a 980 Ti, then, well, I mean, you wouldn't upgrade to a 1070 anyway, because it's the same speed. But like, yeah. Like, the 980 Ti is like the last 28 nanometer card that's honestly still completely fine to run. Like, it's basically a little bit more power hungry 2060, because 2060 is also 6 gigs, 1070 would be 8. But yeah, it should be the same speed as like a 2060, maybe a 2060 Super. Little bit more. What does a 2060 draw? It draws like 180 to 220, I think. Because yeah, it's like a third or like 25% less efficient, or like it draws that much more power. But still though, if you run a 980 Ti in a daily rig, I wouldn't replace that for now. It's coming towards its end. Like at some point, yeah. Like, if you're gonna keep playing AAA games, yeah. But as long as you stay at 1080p, you probably still have like 1 or 2 years left from that card. Though, still we're talking about like a overclocked, water cooled custom card here. If you run like a reference card or anything that's close to reference spec, then yeah, you're not gonna get clocks like these. Wait, it's just trash. Oh, we heated up too much. So it is kinda on the edge. Well, anyway, it was a good score. It was a 23 to 33, I think. So, yeah, cards, same as this one. This is the Omega. Omega's a bit, actually, is the Omega bigger? I think the PCB is the same size, but the cooler is like a chonker. The PCB of the Omega might be a bit taller. Also, it's a 3, well, is the Xtreme a 3 slot? I don't know, I didn't get the stock cooler with this. Came with the water cooling block. But yeah, it's, so this 980 Ti was already clocking really, really well. The only thing that I have a problem with is like the VRMs, like it's an 8-phase using some pretty mediocre MOSFETs. It's running pretty hot and it's probably not gonna take that much more power before the MOSFETs start giving out, and it doesn't have fuses. I trust my power supply to shut off, because it has in the past, but like I don't want this one burning a hole into the PCB, because I don't want to e-power this. I want to keep the stock heatsink on this. Anyway, yeah, just as good as the Omega, like both really, really good 980 Ti's. Which I'm pleasantly surprised by. Like, both do really good core clocks. Both Samsung mem. So like Hynix clocks a bit higher than Samsung if I remember correctly, but for extreme overclocking, you need a Samsung card. Like once you're sub-zero, the Samsung card starts winning. Also, the Samsung memory, I think I've read, performs better per clock than Hynix. So even though Hynix might clock a little bit higher, this one might actually be faster. So yeah. And also this one draws less power than the Omega, which might be VRM efficiency, might be leakage, might be something else. Maybe the INF82 one just calibrated a bit differently. Who knows? Anyway, that should be it for the video. 38 minutes. Yeah, we're gonna get to that 40 eventually. But yeah, cool card. My friend's gonna be very pleased with this one. It's a really good 980 Ti. Well, what else do I have to say? And now I'm gonna add the Omega and gonna run this SLI, but not in this video. Gonna do that in another video. So see you then. Goodbye.